219. Ptolemy was also a fairly young ruler, having ascended to the throne just 2 years earlier in 221 at the age of 22. Spurred by the counsel of his ministers, the young pharaoh spent the majority of 218 frantically gathering his army and hiring mercenaries, all the while sending emissaries to Antiochus under the pretense of negotiating peace to buy additional time. Fortunately for Ptolemy, Antiochus agreed to a 4-month truce. It seems that the Seleucid monarch believed the war was already all but won, and was now more concerned with Achaeus in Asia Minor, and as such sought to winter in his home territories so as to discourage his cousin from launching any potential incursions. With his preparations complete by the middling months of 217, Ptolemy IV marched his army from Alexandria into the Levant to confront Antiochus and the Seleucid host, seeking to settle the Syrian question once and for all. The pharaoh brought with him a force of around 75,000, of which 5,000 were cavalry, in addition to 73 elephants. Meanwhile, Antiochus had approximately 68,000 troops under his command, 6,000 of which were cavalry and 102 elephants. In accordance with Hellenic military doctrine of the time, both commanders understood that the number of phalangites fielded by either side would prove to be especially crucial in the upcoming struggle. Here, the Ptolemaic army held the advantage in numbers, with around 45,000 phalangites, while the Seleucids had some 30,000. It is important to note, however, that 10,000 of the Seleucid phalangites were the Argiraspides, also known as the elite silver shields. They were the premier infantry unit of the Seleucid Empire, with a long and revered tradition of military service dating back to Alexander the Great himself. Additionally, the elephants Antiochus brought to the field were from India, which are believed to have been much larger and stronger than Ptolemy's African elephants. The two armies would meet near the small town of Rafah, where sources suggest that Antiochus purposefully ordered his army to make camp just 1 kilometer away from that of Ptolemy's. For 5 days, the opposing forces skirmished with one another, regularly clashing over water places and whilst foraging for food. It was during this time that Theodotus, the former Egyptian governor of Coele-Syria, who had defected to the Seleucids, would attempt an act of extreme daring. After the skirmishing had concluded on one of the days, and just before dawn, Theodotus entered the Ptolemaic camp, accompanied by 2 others. As Ptolemy's army included those from all across the Hellenic world, the covert party's dress and appearance were nothing out of the ordinary, and as such, they managed to slip past the camp's guards without attracting any suspicion. From his time spent serving under Ptolemy, Theodotus had become familiar with the pharaoh's tastes and habits. He also made note of the location of the royal tent during the day's previous skirmishes, which had strayed relatively close to the Egyptian camp. Making his way past the pharaoh's attendants, Theodotus entered the royal tent. To his surprise, however, the pharaoh was not present, and a would-be assassin instead struck down the Egyptian ruler's unfortunate physician, Andreas. Afterwards, Theodotus managed to safely return to the Seleucid camp, his plot having only been discovered just as he made his exit. After 5 days of skirmishing, Ptolemy was determined to